Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our program today. Today our guest is Mr. Erik Valencic, filmmaker from Slovenia. We have already interviewed him a few times here in Assyria TV. Last summer in June, actually, when we talk about an ongoing project, filming project, documentary called The Guardians of Civilization. And now this project is finished, and we want to ask Erik, what is going to happen now with the finished movie?
First of all, Shlomo, it is my obligation before I start talking about the plans, utmost obligation I have towards our good partners, good people that we worked with together for making this film in post-production and so on. Assyrian Universal Alliance Foundation from America, Mor Avram Institute from Germany, Arab Cultural Center from Paris that gave us permission to use music, and last but by far not least, of course, dear Assyria TV, for following our work as well and for helping us with so many things that it was really hard work on both sides, and when we really do appreciate it, Taudi Sagi and Basime Raba. Of course, our biggest challenge while making this film, we were filming it for a year and a half, was not the situation itself that we were filming in Iraq or north of Iraq, very close to Mosul, but of course it was the translation from Assyrian, from Aramaic language, because nobody in Slovenia speaks it. So that's why we really needed international help here from Assyrian diaspora, for which we are again very grateful. But we wanted to have this difficulty while making this film, but it was important for us that if we are talking about Assyrian identity, culture, heritage, it should be in the language spoken by the people about which we are making the movie. It's a great part of identity. Now that the movie is finished, and it will be shown very soon, I hope also on Assyria TV, it will be shown soon in Chicago, I believe, in America, in cooperation with our partners from before mentioned AUAF. We have plans, of course, to give the movie, or to sell the movie, whatever is the more correct term, to public televisions across Europe, maybe commercial televisions as well. We will, of course, go with the film itself to the film festivals, starting with Slovenia, but then we will expand our ambitions internationally. And our biggest plan, greatest plan is the following. The movie that we are talking about now, The Guardians of Civilization, is 50 minutes long. It's a TV documentary.
For those, just a moment, for those who do not know what it is about, can you just in brief tell us the contents of what it is about? Repeat that.
Yeah? Absolutely, gladly, most gladly. The movie follows a story of a very promising, very aspiring, and very young Assyrian artist from Nineveh Plain, from Baghdida, which is a town very close to Mosul. I think it's 25 kilometers away. The name of the artist is Ninos Thabet Patak. His father, Thabet, is a very famous Iraqi artist, sculptor, and Ninos is walking very proudly in the footsteps of his father. We were documenting the story of Ninos from the time when he was a refugee, or not refugee is not the correct term, but internally displaced person living in Ankawa, which you all know is a Christian Assyrian suburb of Erbil. And we were continuing filming Ninos and his family, of course, as they returned to Baghdida. The point after the liberation from ISIS, of course. The point of the movie is, and this is what makes me really proud of this movie, because I have been a war correspondent for many years, since 2003, and always when you come to conflict zones, to crisis zones, when you come to war zones, you always have to report about destruction, about death, and so on and so on. Surely, Baghdad was also destroyed, of course, when it was under occupation of ISIS and with the following battles that happened there. But however, our film is about art. We are filming very close to Mosul. We were filming very close to Mosul when the war for liberation of Mosul was happening. And yet we were the only journalists there, or filmmakers there, that were concentrating on art, on making of sculptures, of renovating rather than destroying. You know, a movie itself is an inspiration.
I think, if I interrupt you there, I think we can watch a little the introduction. It's very impressive because it has a very deep meaning, where young Ninos is visiting the destroyed the Nimrud, Kalhu, Assyrian former Assyrian capital, the remains of the Nimrud, when he is visiting there. I think let us watch that little clip and then return. So, with this intro, you give us, the public, just feeling that no matter what ISIS or other are destroying, there are people who are going to rebuild it, and that's a very strong message.
As you know, in 2003, there were 1.5 million Assyrians, or should we say Christians, in Iraq. At the moment, the number is around 220,000. A lot of them left. Of course, Ninos' family was also dealing with the very terrible, horrible question whether to stay in Iraq or to go outside, to join countless others who left, family members that left, friends that left, and so on and so on, But then in the end they decided to stay, and it was up to Ninos and particularly, I believe, his father Thabet. They decided that they will stay to renovate all the monuments, whether Assyrian historical monuments or Christian monuments in Bartella, in Baghdad, in Mosul, and so on, to renovate, to really keep the Assyrian identity, Assyrian culture, and the cradle of civilization alive despite everything that happened. And this is still happening there. And this is utmost respect that we must give to such people. I mean, this is what I wanted to say before. I mean, they are not or should not be inspiration only for the Assyrians, wherever Assyrians are living today. It's an inspiration for humanity itself. It transcends the borders of Iraq, of Nineveh Plain, and Assyrians as well, And Thabet made a very good, Mr. Thabet made a very good point to me when we met for the first time in December. It was in 2015. He told me, look, they can destroy our statues, but for 7,000 years we have been making them. It's in our blood, it's in our DNA, it's in our genes. We will make them again. To be a part of this, to go with Ninos to Nimrud and film him there as he places a Lamassu statue on an actual destroyed Lamassu statue, was one of the most beautiful, even though tragic in a way, but still one of the most beautiful moments in my life ever.
Yeah. If we back the tape just when you started and when the work was ongoing, did you face any difficulties because of the conditions, local conditions, permissions? Besides the finance, we have talked about the financial difficulties, and in my last interview you told us that you could have finished the project before, but the story was ongoing, so you wanted to wait and see the end, and now you have seen the end and make the finish. What was, if there was any difficulties you faced?
Well, the biggest difficulty while working on the field was, of course, going back to Baghdad with Nino's family. It was the humanitarian situation in the town was, as you can imagine, was horrible. There was no drinking water. Electricity was non-existent. Almost half of the town got either burned or destroyed in battles and so on. So yes, it was very difficult, and we were all working in June when it was 50 degrees outside, and we had to work in these conditions. So I mean, really, it was at some points in time in our process of filming, it was really difficult, but we progressed, we proceeded, with all of this. Otherwise, we had absolutely no real obstacles or problems, whether it be from the KRG, which is Kurdish regional government, or Iraqi military, Iraqi police. We were met, I will not say that we were met with open hands or anything, but we were allowed to do our work, and this was all that we needed to finish the film, of course.
Yeah. As to the difficulties and the abuses that Kurdish authorities have done against the Assyrians for many times, many years, occupations of land grab and we all know what about it. Is it in your next project? Do you intend to make something about this, to return to the area and document this the situation before and after the referendum, let us say?
Well, of course, yes, because it is not, we cannot here talk only about what is happening to Assyrians in the north. I'm sure that you are aware, a couple of days ago, an Assyrian, a Christian family got killed in Baghdad, which means that the problems are forever present, always existing, you know. So it is our obligation to continue filming everything about the situation that we possibly can in Iraq. Not only in Iraq, we are still hopeful to go to Syria, and also, of course, we are doing a project in southeast Turkey. It's a matter of human conscience that we do not walk away now that the first film or the second film, we have made one before as well, that they are finished, but our work there is not finished. We, like I said before, our ambition is to continue filming Ninos. We will have to, of course, first agree with Mr. Tabas, with Ninos' family, with Ninos himself. We would like to help him to maybe find scholarship and go to learn more about sculpting outside of Iraq, because in Mosul he cannot learn anymore. It's just the department is not there anymore. He would, of course, return back, continue his father's work and so on. And so will we continue to go back to Iraq, because as we all know, ISIS fell in Mosul and most of Iraq, but the murder that happened in Baghdad, the ongoing crisis and human rights abuses that Assyrians or Christians face in Iraq, in Kurdistan region, they are continuing, and if they are continuing, so will our work.
Do you think this documentary and the former one about 3 Assyrian monasteries has increased the knowledge about Assyrians and or their situation, that you can get the Slovenian Ministry of Culture, for example, or other authorities to finance your next projects?
Since I mentioned before that we also made another film regarding Assyrians in the area, in the region. Maybe I should just clarify very briefly what it is about. It is the title of it is The 3 Holy Ones, and it's a movie about 3 monasteries. One is in southeast Turkey. It's Morogin, yes, I'm sorry. And the other 2 are in Iraq, Raban Hormizd, and of course Marmati. Yes, we made that film, and it was screened by public television in November. We made it specifically for the Slovenian public television. They ordered the film, to say it like this. And of course, a lot of people were surprised because they didn't know. They didn't know that people still have to be educated that yes, Christianity does not have roots in Europe, as a lot of people actually think, but it has roots in the Middle East, you know. And they had no idea. But you know yourself the beauty of these old monasteries, you know. So it was very warm for people to see this. They would wish to visit these places, you know. So hopefully they will, you know, and when a situation, at least in north of Iraq, stabilizes a little bit, I mean, these places can be visited. Southeast Turkey, as we all know, is very problematic at the moment, and it will stay problematic for the near future. What I'm talking about here are, of course, actual arms conflicts. You know, the rights abuses that I mentioned before will continue everywhere. Of course, this is true. But so yes, both films raised awareness, each in its own way, and they are putting a contribution to people's understanding in Slovenia. And when we take the movie to festivals internationally, about the situation in the Middle East, that it is not just full with some Muslim people who don't like each other, who kill each other and so on. I mean, I'm not trying to be here sarcastic, but this is the vast majority of the people's opinion. and to show that the Middle East has a beautiful and very diverse history and heritage and culture, it's necessary that we show this to people in Europe, because what we are fighting here in Europe as well are prejudices, is racism and so forth, is people's not understanding what the situation in the Middle East actually is.
Yeah. Okay. I have no more further questions about this. Do you have anything you wish to add before we finish?
There is basically nothing much that I would add at this point. I do feel like I am halfway done with the filming and with all the projects that we continue and will continue in the area regarding Assyrians. I think, or maybe we are not even halfway. We will see how the story and the stories will progress. We will always try to be there in the field. We are dedicated. We will continue to be dedicated. Like I said before, we will not just walk away. It's impossible. The people are too friendly, too lovely, actually. We have friends now that they are actual, really close friends. And these are some of the positive stories that came, personal positive stories that came out of filming in Iraq, in Southeast Turkey, and so on. I mean, it's definitely an area that we will continue to follow in the future. And I am definitely sure that maybe a year from now, or maybe 2 years from now, we might do another interview with Assyria TV about a new film that we made in the area. And of course, to each and everyone, especially to you, Mr. Alvin, because you have been following our work as well since the very beginning, helping us. I just wish to say Taudi Sagi, Basima Raba, and to everyone, of course, Basime Raba.
Thank you. It's only my duty to be helpful for someone like you who have that goals to expose the difficulties and the abuses against the Assyrians, the Assyrian heritage and the Christians' heritage and all that to the West. That's only my obligation. So nothing to thank me about. With pleasure. I hope we will meet again, as you said, after next project. But are you hopeful now, after what happened at the Kurdish referendum, that the conditions maybe would be better for the Assyrians in Assyria, in northern Iraq, in the Nineveh plain? Do you think it's a bigger chance now that the conditions will improve?
You know, as someone who really understands the regional politics and the policies within certain countries like Iraq, you know, even I have difficulties with all my knowledge and logic to understand actually what this Kurdish referendum was about and how they capitulated Kirkuk and also left certain areas in Nineveh plain. And then we have, of course, the situation with YPG and YPG in Syria, with an ongoing Turkish offensive on Afrin, which will, of course, continue in other areas in the northern Syria. This will only further complicate things, you know. What can I say? I mean, I'm not hopeful. I can quote a Greek philosopher, Plato, who wrote, "Only the dead have seen the end of wars," unfortunately. But you know, it is on our side that we, who, you know, they do call me in Slovenia or present me as a war correspondent, but after making these films about Assyrians, I'm not sure that I am a war correspondent anymore. I think I'm more in the service of humanity, of cultural treasure, heritage, and so on, you know. And I'm quite proud of this. And I think that this is a way that a lot of people should take, you know. This is something that we can be hopeful about situations as much as we are ready to improve them. And in that way, I am very hopeful because I am very ambitious and I work with very ambitious people, and we will, of course, continue like I already said earlier, no need to repeat.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing with us your thoughts and telling us about the your projects, and I hope the Guardians of Civilization will be screened in as many Western countries as possible, and that you get funds to your next project. Thank you for participating in this.
Thank you so very much. Bye.